Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenmara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I'd like to offer your elemental energy reading for the month of June of 2025 for the element of air. Air covers the zodiac signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So if you are Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, or have air high up in your charts, then this message is for you. If you're curious to have your charts done, if you've never had that done before, there's a link in the description. It's not a sponsorship or anything like that, but it gives you your base 12 houses with all the little signs and symbols, and then 10 to 20 pages of a description of all that. And there's even a section in there that talks about your elemental alignment. Most people that I've personally run into have two dominant energies. For myself, it is water and air, whereas I have no fire whatsoever, and I think I have 1 point in earth or something. So when you start to look at it from that perspective, you can start to understand a little bit more of a different view of what all that means, and then you can get into the rest of the thing to really break down what all the signs are, which is pretty cool. So any other cards, decks, books I'm using, they're linked in the description down below. With that, we'll get started with the I-ching and air. This is an interesting one for me. I've never had this happen so closely, because as I was casting your hexagram before the video, earth and air, the opposites of each other, have the exact same hexagram. So it'll be interesting to see what messages come through, because earth and air are like fire water. They're the polar opposites, and I find it amusing as I was casting the coins that this is how it came out. So we'll get started here. So air, number 4, have the hexagram, is called immaturity, uncultivated growth. Immaturity, good fortune. I am not one to seek out uncultivated youth, but if such youth seeks me out, I shall first read and explain to him the omens, which is what we're doing here. Yet he should ask me many times, just because of his importunity, I shall not explain anything more. The omens indicate a need for proper direction. So air, and what I'm getting is air, because you're so focused with the mind, with the intellect, with communication, like this is your kind of your home. This is saying you are going to be the teacher of the next generation. You are the one who is influencing the next level, and in some cases it may be something where you have to explain it in terms of whatever project you're working on, meaning those wonderful acronyms or codes that only apply to your branch of a business, and other people may not understand it. So to them it sounds all mystical and etheric, and you're like, no, this is what we're doing, these are the words we use. So you can actually not explain further. They're recommending you don't. Let them figure it out as they go along, but these are what we're going with. I worked for one agency where we had literally an entire language, and we could use entire sentences, if not paragraphs, using just acronyms and codes within the system, and we could communicate just fine. Anyone outside of that bubble that tried to understand that would just have giant question marks all over their face. So the air, you're the one who's teaching. Use the appropriate language. They will figure it out as you go along, is what I'm hearing. So your foundational line down here on the bottom: to enlighten immature youth, it is advisable to apply discipline. Even fetters may be required, but to use them overmuch is harmful. Discipline is generally thought of as a corrective behavior. I mean, fetters aren't usually something you use anymore, but if tying them down works, you know what? That's not advice, just something to think about. But in seriousness, discipline is, this is how we do it, this is why we do it. If they can comply with that, great. If they can't, well, they may not be the best fit. But the discipline of learning is so important, because to do stuff willy-nilly is how things fall apart and break down. Discipline, learn the foundation. Then from there you can play around a little bit and figure out what works, what doesn't, but you have to get those discipline the foundation set. So as far as your foundation, air, this is a hugely important aspect of how you train people, whether it's training your children, training a pet, training someone at work. It's the discipline and consistency. This is why we do what we do. This is what we're doing. Right now, you need to learn the foundation. From there, we can go after that. But this is where you're at, and this is what you need to learn. So your second place line, being gentle with the immature brings good fortune. Taking a wife brings good fortune. Sons will be capable of taking over household affairs when the strong, the young, and the weak, old are in mutual harmony. As you're going forward, when it says take a wife, in this what I'm hearing with this one, because I'm feeling more towards business type stuff, is find a partner who's going to work in tandem with you. That way, when you're training, you guys are of the same mind, and the next generation, the next one's coming up, they are not going to be like, well, so-and-so said this, but so-and-so said that. No. Unified front. That's what they're saying. And sons will be capable of taking over the household affairs when the strong. So the people you're training them to take over where you're at, because you might be moving up, or you might be retiring, or however this is going to play out. But you want to make sure that the next generation is understanding of where you're at, so that you can work in harmony with each other, grow accordingly. That way everything works for the better outcome of all parties involved. So our third place line, do not choose a wife or a partner, or was I? Who, on seeing a wealthy man, cannot contain herself, nothing brings advantage. This is what they're saying, is you want to make sure that when you pick a partner in this situation, whether it's business, home, or otherwise, that there's consistency, that you both share the same vision. If one person is saying this is what we're going to do, but the other one's like, yeah, we'll do that, and as soon as they're out of the picture, like, we're not doing it that way, we're doing it this way. That's not a unified front, and that is always going to end up in disaster. And that's where you want to make sure that the people that you're working with, especially in leadership positions, you're able to lead with the proper authority. If you have ever seen it in a household where the kid will go to dad, dad says no, kid goes to mom, mom says yes, and then it's like, wait a minute, that's not a unified front. You guys, like, that's what they're saying here, is make sure that when you're with a partner, whether it's work or home, what is said is consistent and together. That's what helps form the discipline that helps mature someone into a responsible adult. And a lot of times in the I-ching, they talk about the righteous persistence, or the righteous path. That is a moral, ethical standard of living, which means you're able to take care of yourself, and you're able to help other people, and you're a productive part. And that's what they're saying, is you want to make sure that as you're training or you're working with, if you're the leader, you have a partner who is on the same page as you. So our fourth place line, obstinacy and immaturity cause harm. There is a point when you have to have that line, cross the line, there's teeth over there. And that's where the discipline comes in, whether it's a write-up, whether it's time out if you're at home, whether it's, taking away something that they value. Not having the boundaries and not having those discipline paths is where there's always going to be a problem. Obstinacy and immaturity cause harm. You don't want that to be spread. So that's why you have to train them with discipline. This is why we do it. This is how we do it. We're not going to explain the other aspects, because this is what you need to learn to start with. Once you get the basics, then it's time to explore. But just being bullheaded, I don't want to do it that way, then you don't need to be here, because this is how we do it. So, our fifth place line, youthful innocence brings good fortune. The innocence of discovering that something works even though you weren't sure of it is such an amazing thing to watch in somebody. Whether it's, I worked in kitchens for years as well, and you'd be teaching someone how to bake, and the first time that a person's, let's say, bread turns out or their cake doesn't fall, and they take it out and it's the perfect everything, the texture's right, it all looks perfect. The look on their face when it's something that they've never done before, when it's theirs only, is they're so happy. But that's that youthful innocence. When they start to understand there's a reason for why you have been kind of pushing people into that dissection, and this is why we're doing it this way, when the awareness dawns on them, that's that maturing, but it's still youthful enough to be like, and it's excitement. It's excitement of knowing that they did the right thing and it turned out all right. So, Aries, you have an interesting month ahead of you. The capstone here In dealing firmly with youthful immaturity, there is nothing to be gained from doing what is wrong. Advantage lies in preventing the wrong. Air, this month is going to be an interesting month. If you are someone in a leadership position of some form, whether it's like a day camp or if you're training somebody at home, or you're taking on an apprentice at work, or you have little ones that are coming up in the household, this is where you want to make sure that you have a united front, how you're going to go about this, and this takes a lot of communication. So, Air, this is totally up your alley. And with that, there also has to be, this is where we're at, and anything outside of this, there's consequences. And the consequences are obviously according to the needs. But you have an amazing gift this month of training and teaching, and Air, that really wanting to emphasize you will be the leader of whatever situation you're in. So it's a little bit of a heavy burden, but at the same time, the rewards are going to be worth it. So they're saying don't take anything that the people you're training or working with personally, because it's not going to be meant that way. They're just more frustrated that, well, I want to do it this way, but you've already been there and done that, so you know this is the best option. So moving forward, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and impressions. And if you feel led to share this with a friend or family member who's like, actually, you need to hear this. With that, we'll hop into our tarot and oracles. I read week by week. There's approximately 4 weeks in June. It's like 4 weeks and 2 days. So we're just going to do 4 weeks, and then I read a guide or guardian, someone to help you through the week, a message from source, positive reinforcement, affirmations, etc. And then we'll get some further clarification from the tarot. And your first guide or guardian, and this is quite the powerful one, is Archangel Metatron and Clear Quartz. Just power. I embrace the opportunity to explore a healthy relationship with my personal power. This supports my spiritual journey to fulfill my destiny for the benefit of all beings. I choose to express my power in a way that is respectful, merciful, and kind towards myself and all others. I utilize my growing power to awaken my boldness and confidence. I recognize the inevitability of my divine fulfillment. Air. Metatron is one of the guides that is an ascension guide. He used to be the prophet Enoch, who ascended without seeing death. Therefore, he was transmuted due to his purity of soul. And that's a huge leader to be working with. And then you have Quartz, which amplifies all things. So if you're working with somebody and you're training, and that's kind of where you end up being. Like I said, it's going into summer since it's June. It might be a summer camp or something like that. This is a huge energy of let's guide to the next level. Metatron will also help you understand how your role plays out. And if you need to have some guidance because you're not sure how to handle certain situations, Metatron's energy here in this first week can help set you up with other people who can be beneficial. And with this particular deck, there's crystals associated. So if during that week you have those crystals, it's always a good idea to carry one with you. And if you don't, you can always carry the baseline quartz, either white quartz, milky quartz, or clear quartz, because they carry the energies or can amplify whatever you're needing that week. So, with that, your message from Source for the first week is Our Ancient Future. Interesting name. We have an ancient remembering is emerging. Seed crystals and the knowledge they are imbued with are becoming unearthed. Those who see a better future are not just dreaming. Their hearts and minds are hearkening to the core of earth-based traditions, bringing through knowledge that shifts the paradigm into balance. You are being showered with blessings in preparation for this transformation. It may be turbulent at times. You're growing and healing through the coming journey. Navigating a situation you have no experience with by truly being present is the best option. Integrity and intuition guide you. Air, it's really saying you have all these gifts and talents, and it's time to use them for basically the betterment of other people. And it's also saying that when you follow your intuition, which is not really an air thing, but you can work with it, you can get into that point where you walk with, you're so connected to your higher guides and guardians, but you also know how to pick the right people to seek out further information for, that you're able to move through this first week. But they're also saying through the month, actually uplifting. Other people are going to be so blessed by how you're training. They may not like it in the moment, but after it's over, they'll be like, you know what, I needed that. That helped me out. That set me up for success. So it's a good way to move about. Okay, your first week here is pretty impressive because your tarot is the Magician, which means you have all the tools you need. You have the mastery over the basics. That's something that you now have the ability to teach. You can't teach it if you don't understand it yourself. And what they're saying here is, Air, you've got the gifts, you've got the skills. This teaching aspect, that immaturity into maturity, that youthful innocence of something happening for the first time where the person is really happy about it, this is all within your wheelhouse. Like, this is such a... They're saying that this is going to be an easy month in a lot of ways because you already know how to do all this stuff. This isn't going to be a huge, I don't know what I'm doing, because you kind of already do. But, so yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting month for our air family because everything's lining up right now for this first week, which is setting you up for the rest of the month, that my allergies are fun. You're able to step forward. You may not be fully confident, but you're able to project the confidence because you actually do have those skills, tools, and abilities. Your second week is Archangel Aniel and Pink Calcite, and this is acceptance. Acceptance is my pathway to transformation. Acceptance allows you to see with clarity and make choices that are wise, effective, and healing for for all beings. You choose to grow through your experiences, trusting in the blessings revealed according to divine timing, higher wisdom, and blessings. You acknowledge what is and become capable of attracting inspired solutions that rapidly advance your spiritual empowerment. You now attain a higher understanding and access to the practical wisdom within, finding the best way forward. What I'm hearing is this is a time for you to accept people where they're at. They are coming to you to learn. They're coming to you to grow. So you are accepting, okay? This is where you're at. You're coming into a kitchen, you've never picked up a whisk before in your life, you have no idea what a potato masher is. Okay, so now you get to use your skills and talents. And they're saying with the divine aspect of this, with Archangel Aniel and Pink Calcite, you're really tapping into that heart chakra energy, and that is allowing you to understand where they're at, see their questions. If they're valid questions, you can answer them. If they're not, we can deal with that later type of energy. Like with the overall theme for the I-ching, it's talking about how you're only going to explain the omens. You're not going to keep adding to it or trying to change it. This is what we're doing, and this is where we're at. And that's what this is saying, is you can accept them where they're at, but you're not going to have to overdo the explanations. This is what we're doing. And we're going to keep repeating this until you finally understand why we're doing it this way. So your message from source, that's an interesting card, is Star Seer. Have you ever headed towards a specific destination instead of it being where you ended up? The journey was the catalyst for getting where you were meant to go. Those random detours that you take. Have you ever felt nothing was working out as planned, but then it came together perfectly in a way you didn't expect? This image is the intuition as a goddess lifting us up to see where we're going, and the star sees and she sees the stars within us, which is over here. The journey may not go as planned, but the outcome is better than what you thought. Let the serendipities unfold. Allow space for unexpected opportunities, even when the route is not as direct as you imagined. Listen to your intuition and understand that you have this. When you go through training people, if you've never done this before, it's always a little bit interesting because every person, because you're not dealing with a total blank slate, has their own opinions, theories, and ideas about stuff. But what I'm hearing is, even though things might be a little bit off the charts on some of these people or some of these situations that you're going to be in, it's saying don't give up hope, because what you've got available to you is going to allow you to adapt to any shift, change, or adjustment that is coming forward. So you're able to navigate all of these different areas of life. Like I said, your first week, your tarot is the Magician. So that's going to influence the rest of the month. You have the ability to dance the dance of catching, corralling, answering questions, and keeping people focused and directed. And that's what they're saying is sometimes it's not going to be A, B, C, D, and this is the end game. Sometimes it's A, B, how did that number get in here? C, D, E. So you've got these fluctuations that may be occurring, but you have the ability to dance that dance. Air, use your natural talents, your natural communication skill, charm where you need to, and redirect as necessary. So your tarot is going to be number 7, the Chariot. Things are going to be happening pretty quick this second week, and that's going to lead you into the third week where you're not even noticing that the second week bounced through so clearly because it was that fast. And what I'm hearing is this is a time for you to really appreciate and understand that when the universe puts you on a path and you're following that path, whether you know the outcome fully or not, like you have a goal, but that doesn't, things can change. Things will start to move really quick, especially when you follow your intuition and inner guidance. And this particular week, it's about that accepting other people, knowing that the destination is not always the main focus. Sometimes the journey is just as much fun as the destination is, because that's when you get on those little detours. If you've ever road tripped very much and you always end up in somewhere odd because you saw a road sign, that's what they're talking about for this second week. But it's the overall outcome is definitely pointing you towards this is the best response. And when you follow your intuition, things accelerate, things go a lot quicker, and they tend to be a little bit smoother. And that's what they're wanting to say here. But they're also saying it's because you understand that there's a balance. When something shifts, you can adjust for it pretty quickly, Air. And that's really what they're wanting to remind you of in the second week. So your third week's energy is the goddess Pele and lava stones melt into divine desire. This could be interesting. We have you drop into your heart, welcoming awareness of your deeper soul's desires. You allow yourself to be moved by your heart, igniting your higher purposes through the sacred passions. Your heart's desires carry the genius of magnetic attraction, effortlessly pulling into your world all that is needed for spiritual fulfillment that benefits every being. You are so deeply motivated by moves that your heart is allowing, that opens you up to divine consciousness, allowing it to flow through you unimpeded, transforming the inner vision into creative expression. You allow love to transform your actions. As you go through this third week, it's saying there's going to be a little bit of a challenge, I'm hearing, but it's because your passion and your drive to show what you know with the subject matter at hand. I keep going back to cooking because that's what I've had this happen to me with that. But it's whatever your passion is, that passion is going to direct you in ways that you may not have realized. And it might be, you'll still teach the same base principles, but with this third week, that's where that intuition comes in, where it's like, you're not going to learn through textbook lines, but you're going to learn through experience. So let's get into the kitchen. Let's go do this thing. That way you can expand, still teaching the same basic stuff. You're just doing it in a much more active way. You're showing the passion behind it, where it's like, this is what can happen when you do it this way. And that's what is that's such a gift this month for Air, is you have this ability to show through communication, because communication is not just words, it's not just written, it's actions as well. You're able to demonstrate why this is something that you love so much, why this is something that you put so much energy into, and why this is why we do it this way, so that it turns out correctly, because the outcome is what your goal is. And if you don't follow this certain pathway, the goal's not going to be the same. So you have an amazing gift in this third week. It's all about exploring and allowing the other person to see the passion that you have for this project. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, mine was with cooking. If yours is with gardening, yours could be with arts and crafts of some form. It doesn't matter. If it's your passion, it's your passion, and let that shine through and help you as you're guiding this month. So we have the Starseed Elemental. Sometimes adulting can be too serious. When this happens, add curiosity, fun, laughter, and a lighthearted sense of play to the perspective can be the most effective way to rebalance, which is literally what this card is saying, is find the passion within and have fun with it again. My cards just tried to jump off the table. Facing challenges, circumstances with inquisitiveness can bring joy to whatever you're accomplishing. Imagine stepping into a child's shoes, childlike innocence, and see how their perspective of the world changes. If you have a problem, consider how a child or youth might solve it. Humans are evolving, and children can be our wisest teachers. May we nourish their big souls, listen to them with our hearts, and let their ways unveil fresh new eyes so we may see a whole new world. So the childlike innocence, the I-ching talks about it, it's being brought up here. This third week is where the person that you're working with, if it's a training situation, which is what I keep hearing, this is where they start to see the results. They didn't understand why you were harping on why we have to do it this way, but now they're getting to see the results of it. They're seeing things are playing out, and it's triggering that childlike wonder where they're like, oh, so if we do it this way, this is what's going to happen. Well, what about that? And see, then you can watch their excitement, that youthful innocence is waking up to the fact that there's so much more than what they originally thought. And if you follow the process, these are the results. And so it's one of those things where hearing them out, sometimes you'll have some people ask some really odd questions, but then once you start playing with the idea, all of a sudden it starts to work a little differently. Still works out, but it's a different perspective and a different way to look at it. And that's what they're a little bit challenging you on this message, Air, is yes, your passion is going to lead this and it's going to take it to the next level. And as their childlike innocence and their genuine new questions, because to them this is all new stuff, start to pop up, you're able to actually adapt as you go. Air does this pretty well, to what's being requested, so you can actually help them develop more fully into their own style of doing it, which also brings the old and the young, the weak and the strong, however you want to look at it, into balance again, so that you know that when they take over, they're going to be able to keep going with what it is that you were teaching them. So your message from the tarot is the Seven of Wands, 7 with fire, and it's showing a little bit of arrogance here. And they're saying keep the ego in check is what I'm hearing. Because, yes, as things progress, you're going to have this little moment to preen, I'm so much better. I will eat my grapes. I'm not going to care about the other people. But that's the ego. What you're doing this month is so much growth. And it's not just about growth of the other person. This is also a little bit of a challenge to you for your growth. But it's turning out in a way that's very positive. This Seven of Wands, what I'm hearing is just to keep things in check, keep an eye on stuff. And I read intuitively, so if you are someone who reads literally, that's fine, but this is the message I'm getting. But when we look at this card, it's really, she's showing her, I don't care about other things, but there's an arrogant air to her, where she's like, I'm better than this. Really, she's not. She just has to go out and do the labor in the field if she didn't have someone else to do it, and that's what you're trying to train. You're showing them because there's other things that are starting to be called on for you to step up, so you're training the next generation so that they can step up at their appointed time. So, your final week is the goddess Lakshmi and dendritic agate. This is such a cool card. It's her golden grace, enlightenment, prosperity, goodness, and grace flow through and around you. It is as though your soul dances in soft golden honey-like energy, abundant with nourishment and healing properties. Through her gentleness, the goddess offers your soul an irresistible invitation to receive her blessings and emanate the beauty of the divine. There is a gentler way through which you make even greater spiritual progress. You joyfully and peacefully accept the path and allow your heart to let go. By the end of the month, you're going to notice a huge shift has occurred. Like I said, I keep hearing this is a training situation for you. So by the end of the month, which isn't that big of, this is a short month in some perspectives, you're going to notice such a change in the situation that you're in that it's going to actually almost be like bittersweet. Yeah, this person developed, look at how far they've come, but now they're in a position where they don't need as much training, and so it's one of those bittersweet things, they learned. So definitely about learning how to step into that grace of the ebb and flow of life. And there's so much blessings in knowing that the person that you were working with is actually stepping into their role with confidence, and that's because you taught them correctly. You figured out the way to communicate with them, and you helped them bring out the dance within, and it's the beautiful aspect of it. So you know that they're going to be fine. It's just you didn't expect it to happen so quickly. So your message from source is full spectrum. Step out of the black and white mentality of good and bad. Honor the full spectrum of life and see through and see through fresh eyes. When we judge something, we create a story around it, and often these stories are limiting. Over a lifetime, we subconsciously gather so much of these stories. We create a space of no story for miraculous healing and crystallizing of new paths. This space empowers us to know our truth and be all who we really are. Embrace creation in all of her colors, including the raw, muddy, earthbound, shadowy parts of our situation, to determine whether our life stories are limiting our perspectives. Let the compost of the challenge that you have overcome feed the new shoots of the blossoms. Air, as much as this is not an energy you work with well, this is saying, remember to stay grounded. No matter what's going on, even though you're feeling a little bit like empty nest syndrome because their training is over, you know now that you have the gift of doing this. You have the ability to work with others. So yes, this one group may be done, but now that's also the opportunity to move on to someone else. And it's also saying, as you have trained, and this is something people don't realize until they've done it a little bit, as you're training someone else, as you're working to guide someone else, you are actually in the process of learning and developing and growing yourself. So it's not a one-way street when we do this type of work. And that's what they wanted to bring forward with this one is one aspect of your life is this situation is almost over, but that doesn't mean that you are losing at this point, because look at how far you've come from where you were originally. And again, this isn't a 1 month thing. There's a lot of opportunity for growth going on here, Air. Your tarot is the King of Wands. This is saying now you've stepped into a much more matured state. The fire and the passion is still there, but now you're able to direct it in a space that's more appropriate to what you would like to do. You've been training, which you enjoy, don't get me wrong, but now you're able to bank your passions for whatever project it is, because you can see the next generation, they're waking their fires up, and you can still be there as a guide. You're the elder of the situation, and I don't care how old you are. If you've done more than the other person, you're the elder in the situation, and that means they're going to come to you for advice and questions, not quite the way she's begging for help there, but it's along those lines of they're coming to you, they're not sure. So your role as the trainer might be fading for the moment, but that doesn't mean they're not going to remember that you were the one that showed them originally. So they're going to come to you for the questions going forward. And that also allows, with this King of Wands energy, that you can now turn your attention to other projects that are within the realm of your passions and your growth, so you can actually keep growing and keep building yourself as well. And then as they're growing, you can still watch, and you still keep a tab on the people you've trained, and you can watch how they develop and become better people and grow within the environment that you have helped set up. So this month for Air is going to be a powerful month of growth, of shifting, and they're saying you're going to be the divine teachers, but you're also going to be learning as you go. You have certain knowledges, but as you're working with others, you're going to have to adapt for those situations. So no matter what's going on, they're learning and so are you. So it's not a one-way street here. But with that, I will let you guys go. Have a great month of June, Air. If you have any thoughts, feelings, and impressions, or if you had any other ideas come forward with the cards, feel free to drop them in the comments down below, and I will check those out. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great month of June.